I got mine. Where's yours?
What killed the dinosaurs? The Ice Age!
1997 was a strange year at the movies. On one side, there were the giants: Titanic, Men in Black, Good Will Hunting, films that defined the decade and rewrote box office records. On the other side were the flops, big ones. Studios bet huge on sequels, star vehicles, and prestige dramas that looked like sure things on paper. But when the lights went down, audiences didn't show. Scripts collapsed, effects looked cheap, careers took hits. Some of these films were quietly buried. Others became cautionary tales whispered in studio boardrooms. This isn't a list of obscure oddities. These were meant to be hits, and that's exactly why they're so fascinating. Here are 12 movie flops from 1997, proof that in Hollywood, even the sure things can sink.
I know who you are.
I know you too. You look a little wet. You see, Alex?
Number 12. Speed 2, Cruise Control. The first Speed was lightning in a bottle. A bus, a bomb, and Keanu Reeves refusing to slow down. The sequel tried to recreate that magic by putting the action on a cruise ship. Sandra Bullock returned, Jason Patric stepped in, and William Dafoe played a villain obsessed with leeches. The budget ballooned to around $160 million, including marketing. Keanu Reeves read the script and walked away. In hindsight, that might have been the smartest career move he ever made. Audiences didn't line up for a thriller that moved at 5 knots. Domestic numbers were weak. Overseas, returns just about covered the cost, and critics tore it apart. Bullock later called it the biggest piece of crap she'd ever done. Speed 2 wasn't a minor stumble. It was a studio betting everything on a formula that had already left the station. Number 11. Batman and Robin. Few flops are as culturally radioactive as this one. After Batman Forever minted cash, Warner Brothers doubled down. Toys, tie-ins, global marketing, the film was built to be a merchandising empire. But Batman and Robin looked like nothing audiences expected. Neon sets, cartoonish dialogue, ice puns echoing across sound stages. George Clooney's rubber suit with molded nipples became an instant late-night punchline. Arnold Schwarzenegger collected a $25 million paycheck to shout "freeze" every other line. The film grossed over $230 million, but that number hides the reality. With a budget near $160 million and massive marketing spend, returns were underwhelming. More damaging was the backlash. Fans revolted. Critics eviscerated it. Clooney apologized for years. It didn't just underperform. It killed the Batman franchise until Christopher Nolan revived it 8 years later. Number 10. The Postman. Kevin Costner's downfall arrived not with a whisper, but with a stack of mail. The Postman came 2 years after Waterworld bruised his reputation, and this time he tripled down. He directed, produced, starred, and aimed for an Oscar bait epic about a drifter rebuilding society after the apocalypse by delivering letters. Released on Christmas Day, it was positioned as a grand, inspiring saga. What audiences got was a 3-hour, self-serious slog. Reviews called it bloated, egotistical, and accidentally funny. Budgeted at around $80 million, it barely made $20 million domestically. It swept the Razzies, Worst Picture, Worst Actor, Worst Director, and became the punchline of the holiday season. Today, a small cult finds it oddly sincere, but in 1997, it was less epic and more career implosion caught on film. Number 9. Steel. Before shared universes, DC tried to leap onto the superhero bandwagon with Shaquille O'Neal. Steel adapted a relatively obscure character and gave Shaq a metal suit, a hammer, and a script that felt like an after-school special. The results were painful. The armor looked like spray-painted plastic. The action scenes dragged. Shaq's natural charisma on the court vanished under stiff line readings. Critics called it awkward, cheap, and instantly forgettable. With a $16 million budget, it opened to just over $1 million. Final grosses stopped at $1.7 million. It was buried almost immediately. Steel is mostly remembered now as trivia, the first post-Burton DC hero to get a solo film, and one of the quickest to flop. Shaq's Hollywood experiment ended quietly that summer, and Shaq wasn't the only unlikely hero to stumble that summer. Number 8. Cole the Conqueror. Fresh off TV success with Hercules, The Legendary Journeys, Kevin Sorbo was tapped to lead Universal's new fantasy franchise. Cole the Conqueror was pitched as a spiritual successor to Conan the Barbarian. Big swords, big battles, big dreams. The reality was a muddled, uneven adventure. It couldn't decide if it was a serious epic or a cheesy Saturday matinee. The late August release dumped it into a crowded box office surrounded by hits like Men in Black and Air Force One. Budgeted at $30 million, it grossed under $22 million worldwide. Critics shrugged, calling it dull and outdated. Audiences forgot it within weeks. The would-be barbarian king never got a sequel. Sorbo returned to TV, and Cole quietly joined the long list of 90s fantasy films that never found their footing. Number 7. Buddy. Animal films were box office gold in the 1990s. Talking pigs, heroic collies, mischievous chimps. But Buddy tried something different. A sentimental period drama about a woman raising a gorilla in her home. Rene Russo starred, backed by impressive animatronics meant to bring the gorilla to life. Instead, it landed deep in the uncanny valley. The tone was neither lighthearted enough for kids nor weighty enough for adults. Families walked in expecting Babe. They got melancholy and awkward stares. Budgeted around $30 million, Buddy earned about $10 million domestically. Critics were polite but lukewarm. It slipped out of theaters almost unnoticed. Sometimes box office bombs happen because the world isn't ready. Other times it's because no one's quite sure who the movie is for. Buddy wasn't the only one audiences ignored that year. If you're enjoying this trip back to 1997, stick around and maybe give that like button a quick tap so more film buffs can find these forgotten gems. Next up, a serious drama with A-list stars and big ideas that went nowhere fast. Number 6. Mad City. Dustin Hoffman, John Travolta, a topical, media-savvy thriller directed by Costa Gavras. Mad City looked like serious awards season material. The story followed a desperate security guard who takes hostages and a veteran reporter who turns the standoff into a media circus. But the execution didn't match the ambition. Critics found it heavy-handed and oddly flat, with neither the sharp commentary nor the tension it aimed for. Audiences weren't interested either. Released in November, right in the thick of Oscar season, it was crushed by stronger prestige contenders. With a $50 million budget, it barely scraped past $10 million domestically. For 2 A-list stars and a respected director, the result was a major embarrassment. Mad City vanished almost as quickly as it arrived, remembered mostly as a cautionary tale of a message movie that lost its way. And while prestige projects fizzled, even Disney wasn't immune to a dud. Number 5. Rocket Man. Disney in the late 90s could do little wrong. At least that was the idea. Then came Rocket Man, a broad comedy starring Harland Williams as a bumbling astronaut accidentally sent to Mars. The humor leaned heavily on slapstick and bodily gags. It wanted to be a new flubber. Instead, it played like a string of sketches. Critics found it exhausting. Kids didn't latch onto it. Adults rolled their eyes. With a $16 million budget, it brought in just over $15 million worldwide. Not catastrophic, but in a year when Disney was riding high, this felt like a loud misfire. It's the kind of film people vaguely remember existing, until someone plays the trailer and then they remember exactly why it didn't work. Rocket Man wasn't the only unlikely hero to crash and burn that year. If you're enjoying this countdown of cinema's most spectacular misfires, hit that subscribe button and ring the notification bell. We've got plenty more forgotten flops, hidden gems, and Hollywood disasters coming your way. Trust me, you won't want to miss what's next. Now let's move on from space comedy to action, with a star whose own career was about to enter freefall. Number 4. Fire Down Below. By the late 1990s, Steven Seagal's star was fading. Fire Down Below was pitched as his big return, an environmental action thriller with Seagal playing an EPA agent battling polluters in rural Kentucky. In theory, it was a fresh angle. In execution, it was wooden dialogue, sluggish pacing, and a lead actor who looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. The action sequences lacked punch, and the film's preachy tone turned off audiences looking for the next Under Siege. Budgeted at $60 million, it limped to $16 million domestically. Critics mocked it. Fans ignored it. It wasn't just a box office failure, it was a public sign that Seagal's era as a major theatrical draw was closing. Number 3. Father's Day. This was supposed to be a sure thing. Robin Williams, Billy Crystal, Julia Louis-Dreyfus. Directed by Ivan Reitman. On paper, it looked like a comedy juggernaut. What audiences got instead was a confused, laugh-light story about 2 men chasing after a runaway teen who might be their son. Reviews were scathing, calling it awkward and unfunny. Word of mouth evaporated almost instantly. It didn't help that the film was released in a crowded summer where sharper comedies and bigger blockbusters stole the spotlight. With a massive budget of around $85 million, the film barely crawled past $35 million worldwide. For 2 of the biggest stars of the 90s, it was a brutal box office faceplant. Father's Day stands as a reminder reminder that star power alone can't save a weak script, especially when the jokes don't land. Before we reveal the most embarrassing misfire of the year, let's talk about a franchise that went from box office gold to straight to TV in record time. Number 2. Turbo, a Power Rangers movie. 2 years earlier, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie was a pop culture event. By 1997, the craze was waning. Turbo featured a new cast, a weaker script, and TV-level production values stretched onto the big screen. Budgeted at $8 million, it grossed just $9.6 million worldwide. Not a devastating loss, but a massive drop from the previous film's $66 million haul. Older fans had moved on. Younger viewers preferred watching the show at home. More than the money, this flop was symbolic. It marked the end of the Rangers' presence in cinemas for nearly 2 decades. The franchise survived, but it retreated back to television, bruised. Turbo wasn't a disaster on paper, but it marked the end of an era for the Rangers on the big screen. And speaking of eras ending, if you love digging up those cinematic misfires, now's a good time to subscribe. And finally, the flop that no one saw coming. A Disney comedy with a bankable star that face-planted in spectacular fashion.
Bonjour. We are all so happy today. N'est-ce pas?
Number 1. Jungle to Jungle. In 1997, Disney was riding high. Tim Allen was one of their most bankable names, and Jungle to Jungle was expected to be his next family hit. The story of a Manhattan businessman discovering his long-lost jungle-raised son had all the ingredients for success, but the comedy fell flat. Critics tore it apart, and audiences didn't bite. Despite heavy promotion, the film earned less than its production budget once marketing was factored in. It was released at a time when Disney's live-action formula was starting to feel tired, and viewers were looking for something fresher. What was meant to be a safe bet turned into one of Disney's most embarrassing misfires of the decade. Jungle to Jungle didn't just flop at the box office. It quietly signaled the end of a certain kind of formulaic 90s family comedy, the kind studios once assumed could never fail. 1997 belonged to Titanic, but its underbelly was crowded. For every mega hit, there were films that slipped beneath the surface, projects that seemed bulletproof until the audience spoke. Some of these movies have carved out cult followings. Others remain frozen in time, remembered only in trivia lists and late-night retrospectives. But together, they paint a clear picture. Hollywood wins big and loses big. Which one do you think deserves a second look? Let us know in the comments. And don't forget to subscribe for more journeys through cinema's forgotten corners. Because behind every hit, there's a flop waiting to be rediscovered.